Welcome back, fellow members of Tommy Wagner's Blue and White Army, to the Free Blue Boys podcast. Thank you to everyone who has liked, subscribed and commented and interacted with us on our social medias, link to which are on the screen for you now in the description below. We're now at 200 subscribers as of recording this on Monday evening ahead of the fixture against Port Vale tomorrow in the League Cup, so thank you to everyone for doing so. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, comment and follow us on our social medias. Thanks very much. I'm your co-host Dan Harris, as always, joined in my fellow boys in blue, or indeed white and red this evening. We've got Andy Harris and Joe Harris. Gentlemen, how are we this evening?
Warm.
Yeah,
very warm.
It's very warm, isn't it?
It's very warm. Yeah, we've the summer has continued long beyond what we would have expected in this country. So, but we shouldn't complain.
No,
we shouldn't complain, because we will. Come the winter, we'll complain and say, "Wish the days of summer was still here." But there you go.
Classic English stuff, that
Absolutely.
isn't it? Really?
It is, isn't it? We'll be back in our parka jackets soon enough and complaining, won't we? Yeah, we'll be back to the Bovrils rather than the beers, won't we? Probably still the beers, though.
Yeah, we did that last season, didn't we?
Yeah, we
thought it was going to be a Bovril time. There was the odd Bovril that I did, wasn't there?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
You did do a couple, yeah.
I probably the Bovril, yeah.
There you go.
Just don't combine Bovril and beer.
It's like the next best thing, apart from bringing my cafetiere to the games, which isn't really practical. So that's like the next best option, really, is Bovril.
Be a bit much.
Well, they're saying that. I don't think the Blues security give much of a shit about that. It's just, go.
Yeah, it's just you pat down, you scan, and or whatever.
Not bothered.
No, it ain't. No. So, but anyway, they're there in any case, aren't they? So as you see with many grounds.
Good diversion at the start for us. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Diversion right off there. So yeah. It's right off the cusp with that, isn't it? Some quality content, as always, as you'd expect on the Free Blue Boys podcast.
Yeah.
But, of course, leading into it, our post-match analysis of the last fixture in the EFL Championship against Oxford United. Of course, we did our post-match reaction following the game on Saturday. 1-0 win for the Blues, courtesy of Pakeson Ho's goal in the first half. Good performance, well controlled, very, as we said, Chris Davis-esque. Some really good statistics coming out from that in terms of demonstrates our level of control in the game, how we distributed the ball and how we did when we were out of distribution and how we worked to get it back with the press as well. So impressive performance all round, really.
Yeah, it was a classic League One Blues, wasn't it, from last season? I mean, we said before the game, I think the three of us, that it was going to probably be that way with the way that Oxford were going to set up. Not exactly 11 men behind the ball, but it was pressing us in the moments, particularly when we got into the 2-6s with Paik and Iwata. And it was just in moments, wasn't it? And as the game went on, they did get more tired. We started to come forward more and play more in their final third. And yeah, it was got the job done in the end. And I think there probably will be a few more games like that this season. I think there's going to be teams that are going to come at us a little bit more. But we are a possession-based side, and obviously with the quality that we've added this season, that's going to come again, isn't it? So.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was really interested. Obviously, we did our post-match reaction and talked about the players and kind of the way we played, etc. But in the ensuing days after the game and after that particular broadcast, I was looking at and listening to various bits and pieces. But the first thing is that I listened to Chris Davis talking about the game afterwards, and the interesting word that came out was process. Now, he's used that word before, but it never really struck me. And the context of why it's important I'll come to in a minute, but that's what Blues go through. We go through a process. Yeah, that whole thing about keeping possession, not just for the sake of it, it's got to be effective, but also it's a defensive measure. It helps us to retain possession so that the opposition don't get it.
There's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Absolutely, yeah, and it moves them around and all the rest of it. So the reason I kind of thought about it is, well, the trouble with the process is if it's like well defined and well executed, eventually somebody will suss that out. Eventually somebody will work out, what are the pressure points there. And a couple of teams did it last season, particularly when they bore down on the six pivots. But what was interesting was Gary Rowett's comments afterwards. He was talking about the way Blues played and said, look, the thing is that they're so good at keeping the ball and keeping you chasing it that you can't get to it. No. You can't break the process down. You can't get hold of the ball to do the things that you want to do. And he also talked about they had a good opening 20 minutes, which they did.
They did.
They started well.
First 20.
But what he then said is we got tired. And this is in the first half. They got tired after that first 20 minutes of running around and trying to create their own spaces and their own opportunities. And that's the thing we forget, is that it's not just about chasing us with the ball. They're trying to do stuff. They're trying to kind of, get a goal and win the game themselves.
Yeah, of course.
And if you consume all that energy in trying to stop us, eventually it'll catch up with you. I mean, Chris Davis always says this, but I think Gary Rowett's a very kind of decent analyst as well. At times he's on Sky and stuff like that. But he put his finger on it for me in a very succinct way, in a very straightforward way, and just said, look, they're so good that just saying we're going to do it and we're going to get the ball off and we're going to close them down, it doesn't always work. In fact, it rarely works.
No.
But those two things together made me think, yeah, actually, we're all thinking the opposition will just have this kind of, this kind of low block or more middle block like they did, and you think, yeah, that's how people suffocate us. But it's easier said than done.
Yeah, this is why, though, when you move up the levels, you play better teams, and naturally, if we are going to go up another division at some point, hopefully sooner than later, teams are going to break that. They'll be better than you at it, and when you try and move up the pitch in the same way that we do, they'll just take the ball off us because they'll press better. There's better quality players, more players with energy. And I think we can still do it in this league, but as you say, Rowett, I think he's a pretty fair bloke. Obviously, he's had 2 spells at Blues, not including his playing time. I think I hope he does a good job there. I think they've probably got enough, the O's, to stay in this division.
I would agree.
They've probably just about got enough quality. But yeah, I think his comments were fair, that doesn't always happen, does it, for post matches from other managers?
No, it doesn't.
And how many times did we hear it last season? It was unbelievable.
I dare say it might have something to do with his affiliation with Birmingham City as well, maybe. But they were very fair comments, weren't they?
Yeah.
And very much in context of the game as well. And it's interesting what you were saying there, Dad, about process as well, because Damari Gray, in amongst the images from himself and the clips from himself in the game, and posted on Instagram. He posted a quote saying most people don't want to be part of the process, they just want to be part of the end result. But being part of the process is finding out who you are.
I like that.
And that is vindicative, and that is clear of how the message, the way we want to play and the types of characters you want in the team has transcended from Chris Davies and the coaching staff into the players and the type of people we're bringing in. And I was talking to a supporter I was sat next to at the game on Saturday, talking about how it was a shame to let Alfie May go, and he goes, well, you haven't got time for emotion in this, have you? Look at the owners we've got, look at the coaches we've got, and it's right, isn't it? As much as we do miss Alfie, and of course we have wished him the best, and he did bag a goal for himself actually for Huddersfield Town on Saturday, got the winner. Good man, well done Alfie, very good lad. But of course, you've got to make room for the new, haven't you? Because of the ambition this club has, and there's no mistake to be made about that at all.
Yeah, they're not looking to wait around, are they? They've got to be ruthless, and I think that is one of the words that describe Knighthead here at this club. And Damari Gray, just because you mentioned him there, Dan, to touch on him, and obviously I think we've said in previous episodes that fans are going to be worried. Has he still got that fire in him now? He's a little bit older, and he's kind of his best years, I dare say, are probably behind him. Hope not. Hopefully we can go to the sky with him, but. His work rate, we've seen in games in Sheffield United in the Cup, but that game on Saturday, he was absolutely fantastic, wasn't he?
Absolutely man of the match, wasn't he? Well, we talked about it, didn't we? And we said we believe the EFL have awarded him man of the match, and we believe Blues had the vote on X as well. So outstanding performance. And of course, closely followed by Pegson Ho, and of course, Boz as well.
Boz had a good game, he was solid.
Probably Ethan Laird as well, actually, probably placed him above Boz. As well, slotted into that left back position very comfortably, deputising for Alex Cochrane. And I think furthermore, as well as we discussed as well on our post-match reaction on Saturday following the game, it's further testament as well that we're starting to see that strength in depth now, which I think a lot of teams struggle with in this division.
It's fine margins,
good to see, and it's fine margins, exactly like you say.
Yeah, you've got to have that little bit extra in this league. And how many times have we seen teams nearly get there? I mean, Sheffield United last season were one where they were hanging around that 1 or 2 position all season, and then they dropped off and they didn't go up. And I think you need that little bit extra, and it's fine at the minute when you've got teams maybe you don't expect to be. We're only 3 games in, but you've got Stoke up there. Obviously, Middlesbrough expect them to do well, but like Ipswich and Southampton and Leicester, they haven't started the way that we would expect them to. But it's a long old season.
It is.
And if you've got that depth and you can add to it before the transfer window ends, when you get into that January, February, March period, bang, that's where the points are got to be picked up. Because if you do, you're right in contention then. And while it being early days, we're still very impressed with what we've put out in the 3 league games we've played. And to be on 7 points after 3 league games, I mean, it's almost as good as it gets, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, and people I'm sure would argue that it could have been 9 or should have been 9, with the penalty decision against Ipswich. I mean, going back to the strength in depth thing, it really eventually comes down to the quality of that depth. Yeah, so bodies is one thing, and everybody's going to have a full squad. Even hopefully Sheffield Wednesday are going to have a full squad, enough for all substitutes in every game. But it's about what you can bring on. The number of comments I've seen from teams we've played and some that we haven't yet saying, the game changed when we made the substitutions, we dropped off because the people they're bringing on aren't of sufficient quality to replace the people who've played the first 60, 70 minutes or whatever. And I like to think, in fact I guess I do think, that we have got a lot of people who can come off the bench and be as good as if not better than the people that are coming
I would
off.
agree.
Yeah.
And I think that's the potential key to success for anybody this season. I'm not just saying we've got it. I mean, at the moment, Wrexham, our old friends there, have made a poor start to the season by their standards. But I noticed that they want to be very active in the transfer market still, and that's them saying the same thing as us.
Yeah.
We need the quality in depth because we can't just bring on, with all due respect to the other players there, second-raters to replace our first team.
It's about how you do it and who you bring in, and it's like you were just saying, Dan, it is the right characters. Obviously, you've got to have quality on the pitch, but ideally you need both of those things. So in the dressing room, it's a good vibe. Obviously, it's a positive vibe around the club as it is. But Wrexham there, I mean, who was it they spent 10 mil on from Ipswich?
Broadhead. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's outlandish to say that they've had their fucking pants down there, ain't they? Like, for 10 mil for him, I wouldn't think so. But again, like, it might be one of those things, he has a fantastic season. You don't know, but time will tell throughout the season. But we got to bring that quality in for that strength and that depth, and I think that will show. And again, I just want to touch on Pay, because you mentioned him there, Dan. Probably a close second with man of the match. Obviously got himself a goal. I think that's only his third for Blues. Scored once last season, and obviously scored in the final day of the season before last.
Yes.
We went down and we beat Norwich at home. But fantastic again. He kind of does play in that 6 with Iwata, but he drifts a lot. And he's kind of, sometimes he's hovering around the 10. He helps out wide with the 2 men, with the fullback and the winger. I've noticed he does that a lot. And when you actually watch a player rather than the game, you kind of see it through their eyes. And
you do.
His awareness of what's around him is obviously, he looks a level above, and he definitely did on Saturday, and he was fantastic, wasn't he?
He was a joy to watch, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's interesting when you watch a player, you almost watch it through their eyes, with the movements off the ball, and his key movement off the ball with the goal as well.
Yeah.
Again, mention as well to the third place man of the match as we've placed him, Ethan Laird, set up the goal, cut it back nicely on his left foot. Good to see a player that can use both feet as well.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen the same with Boz as well on the opposite right side as well. And just relating there to the process as well that we talked about on Saturday's game, and how deeply possession based it was, even for a Chris Davis side. Some statistics that support that. So we had 66.2 of possession to Oxford's 33.8. And in terms of distribution stats, total passes 579 Blues to Oxford's 299, 87.7 passing accuracy to Oxford's 71.6. Backward passes 109 Blues, 45 Oxford, 172 forward passes to Oxford's 124. Total long balls, again, the only difference as it was bar one other statistic in the Blackburn Rovers game, 46 Blues, 57 Oxford, and 128 successful final third passes for Blues to Oxford's 25, and 23 total crosses to Oxford's 8. So again, we are very much the winners in terms of the distribution statistics there.
Not that we do much with the crosses, right?
Well, other than exactly. Well, it was funny you mentioned that, because remember we were seeing a lot of cross balls over from Laird over to Williamson on the right.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see that Oxford came out on top. But then I suppose we shouldn't be surprised, because how else were they going to distribute the ball? Because they couldn't play it through us, like we touched on, because of how well we retained possession and how difficult we made it for them to break down our process. As Dad, of course, you alluded to with Gary Rowett's post-match comments.
Yeah, got to go into wider areas, as you just said, Dan. You can't really go through the middle as such. It was congested there, and there were times when they were playing 4-5-1 and they'd break it up when they went into attack and that kind of thing. So I think we talked about this a little, perhaps for the Blackburn game, and we definitely talked about it in the post-match. Is again, it's that 1-0 thing though, isn't it? All those stats back up the fact that we ran the game, and yet we were still only 1-0 in front.
It's a precarious position to be in, I think.
And there was a chance for Mark Harris at the end in, I think, the second minute of injury time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he just put it wide, didn't he?
I mean, he's a good goal scorer, and he was disappointed in himself. He thought that was a presentable chance.
Equally, on the flip side of that, we should have put the game to bed.
That's
they
what I'm
had a chance
to, yeah.
Obviously, we want him to be starting to score goals, and I do think he'll come good, because I think a Celtic fan has alluded to the fact, or a few of them, that Kyogo has a lot of chances and his conversion rate isn't actually that good. Don't quote me on that, but that's what we've heard. But obviously at the same time he's still going to score goals. I think he just needs to get going. That we've got 1 or 2 goals hopefully on Tuesday, tomorrow night in the Cup. But should have slotted us ahead, shouldn't he? Willem actually had a pretty good game, as we alluded to in the post-match.
No, he had a decent game.
Slotted Kyogo through. We all obviously thought it was in.
We all thought it was in. Well, it was different,
was.
wasn't it, in opinion? Because initially for the first half, I was sat in another seat to you and Dad.
Yeah.
I thought that, speaking to a supporter next to me, that the offside flag got up and he'd actually put it in and it'd just gone through the net.
Yeah.
Because where it may have been loose. But then, of course, you checked on X and it was confirmed that he actually put it wide. And, of course, we saw that later on the replay, didn't we, on Sky Sports, and then later on Birmingham City's very own YouTube channel. And I think we'd had 16 shots on goal with only one on target.
Yeah.
The conversion rate has got to get better, particularly when you're paying £10 million. And I know, like you say, Joe, it's about settling in, finding his rhythm, but at some point it's got to happen.
I think
you paid £10 million for Kyogo at the end of the day, so it's got to happen. I think he will come good. I think you're right. Yeah. But like you were saying, Dad, 1-0's a precarious position to be in.
We had it a lot of times last season. You know, Joe and I sat through that many kind of 1-0s or 2-1s or a late second goal to get it to 2-0. And I got more comfortable with that as the season went on. I started thinking, I've seen it enough times to be confident that we're going to see it through and see the game out. But there was a lot of that. There was a lot of kind of being on the edge of your seat for the first 3 or 4 months of the season. And you think, and it happened, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
go back to the nightmare of Northampton again kind of thing, you know. So it can happen. So you don't want to be in that position. But equally, we're 3 games in. Let's not get too het up with the fact that, you know, those chances were missed. As CD said after the game, he was in the positions. Yeah, that's the key thing now. For a bloke who's barely played that much football in the last 8 months, because he was on the bench or left out when he was in Ren's squad. So let's just sit back and kind of watch the process.
Exactly that.
Kind of come to fruition.
That's what I think the video should be called, just process, really, shouldn't it?
It shouldn't be really, not post-match analysis or post-match interview. Chris Davis. It should be processed by Chris Davis.
Should be called Paken the Process.
Should be named in memoirs, that, shouldn't it? Processed by Chris Davis. That's probably what it'll turn out to be in years to come after his many years in football. Yeah. But of course, leading on in terms of personnel for the post-match analysis from Oxford United on Saturday, of course, picking up the 1-0 win for the Blues, and now we got 7 points on the board and places us 5th in the Championship now in the playoffs. Good. So a good start to us after 3 games in, so that's excellent to see.
Can I throw something in, Dan, just before we leave the Oxford one? Somebody else I want to give a shout out for a good performance during that game was Robert Jones, who doesn't play for either side.
He's very good.
He's the referee.
He did actually have a good game, didn't he? I've seen the Blues. A few Blues fans comment on that.
Yeah, I was impressed by him, actually. Just the fact that we didn't get into talking about him making mistakes is a good thing. But to talk about him in terms of he was proactive in how he managed the game, the way of the play-ons were kind of frequent. You know, the number of times there were niggly fouls.
Lots of that.
Exactly, yeah. And that was good to see, wasn't it? You know, so he wanted the game to keep moving. No onerous decisions, nothing that I could think of that was particularly controversial. I think the Oxford fans got wound up about something just before half-time, and I think Will Lancashire was a bit irate.
Was it an offside?
I think
they thought it was in their own half or something like that, but
apparently may have been
the rule around that is that you can take the free kick from where the player ended up. So he might have gone offside and then come back into his half, kind of thing. So that wasn't necessarily an issue per se, but they wouldn't have known that. But other than that, to be honest, if that was a bad decision in any way, I was really impressed. And he's a Premier League level referee, and that just shows, doesn't it?
Yeah, we need that, and I think it's probably a reflection of the stuff we went through last season, the nature of how we play, and playing in the final third and in the box in League One. And obviously, no disrespect, but if you can have referees that are in League One versus Premier League, there's a reason the Premier League referees are where they are, and League One's referees are where they are.
Of course they are.
And it just shows that if we step up again at some point, hopefully sooner than later, as I said before, we get better refereeing, and obviously we've got the introduction of VAR if that happens, which that's another ball.
Adding to the strength in depth further, we've seen the addition of Jason Koumas. No apologies, actually, not Jason Koumas. That would be something now, wouldn't it? Yeah. That'd be impressive. Rather his son, Lewis Koumas. Yep. Of course, Jason Koumas, former of West Bromwich Albion, a midfielder, well known in that circles. But of course, Lewis Koumas coming on loan, season-long loan from English Premier League champions Liverpool. 19 years old, turned out a good 43 performances for Stoke City in the Championship last season.
I think 60 total across the comps as well.
I think he did as well, actually, to be fair, including cup games, and registered 3 goals as well. So, and impressive so far. looking like a good addition, adding to the strength and depth as we've talked about for the squad. He'll probably be covered the likes of, I imagine, Damari Gray, Keshi Anderson. He may even sit in the 10 role as well, do a little bit mixing maybe what Tommy Doyle's doing as well. So it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully he turns out as well with the Duck on Tuesday, hopefully.
Yeah, I
Be
would
good
have
to see 'em both.
thought. I would have thought, probably slot in there. I think I want to see Fujimoto as well because he's been hovering around the squad now for longer than both of those two. So it'd be good to see him in there. But yeah, with Koumas, I think that obviously had a bit of a standout season as far as Stoke squad last season. Obviously been with Liverpool since a young age. I think that for him, on a personal level, he'll want to get into the team and be playing every week.
Yeah, I think he will be.
The competition is rich this season, and that's the best headache for Chris Davies to have. But we'll see. Could be an exciting player. Other than what happened last season, I don't know too much about him. But I think we've found that with a lot of players we've got this season. But yeah, it'd be good to see him tomorrow night, wouldn't it, in the cup? Really, if we could.
Yeah, hopefully he'll show up good. Hopefully alongside the Duck as well, and say Fujimoto as well, because he's been hovering around the squad a lot more so than the other additions we brought in as well. And we've probably been one of the most active, if not the most active club in the EFL Championship during the transfer window. And I think probably they're going to look at 2 more additions. Maybe they're interested in a left-sided centre-back as well. Yeah. Maybe another full-back as well. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes in terms of strengthening the quality in depth as we talked about. But Dad, impressed by the addition of Lewis Koumas?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I just think the fact that he seems to be able to play on either wing, actually. Now, we don't play with the right winger as such, but who's to say that there won't be times when that will happen? I mean, Scott Wright isn't going to be around in any time in 2025, I wouldn't have thought. So it's always good to have that option. If we suddenly decide we're going to be more solid at right back, no bombing forward, and we want actual winger on the right wing. This kid's got pace. Yeah. But I think the other thing that 2 other things I noticed about him, and I think Chris Davies alluded to this, is his strength. I think he's pretty good at fending off challenge. He seems to have good upper body strength, especially for a fairly young lad, really.
He's 6 foot as well.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
Not small,
no, we're good. And that's good. That's important because it's almost kind of Keshi-esque, isn't it, really, to have that stature. But I think also the tracking back. The ability to kind of, take responsibility and accountability for making sure that you're covering the full-back. Yeah, it is your job.
I don't think you get in this team unless you've got that mentality.
I agree with you, yeah. And I'm sure they've done an amazing amount of due diligence on all these players to check that that's an integral part of their game. So, yeah, I think he ticks all those boxes, doesn't he? Now, as you just said, Joe, his challenge is breaking in.
Got it.
And that's, where the competition is hotting up, because what was our reaction on Saturday when we saw the team at 1:45? No Keshi. Williams in, Keshi's out. I think, surely Keshi's got to start. No. But now that's a question now, isn't it, for Keshi's to say, you know what, mate, as good as you've been and as great as you are in this system, you ain't guaranteed to start.
No, I don't think anybody is actually irreplaceable.
No.
You could probably think of, the first name that probably comes in Jed is Stano, but I think because that's a bit of the money around him and all the rest of it, and he's obviously a lot of fan favourites.
He's quite a niche role in the team, and I think this is where some fans, opposition fans, and maybe even some Blues fans get a little bit misguided. We see it all the time, don't we? Or we hear it all the time. When he gets substituted, he hasn't scored, what a waste of money. People don't really understand, aside from his goals, what Stanfield actually does in the team.
He's a very valuable player to us, but I will sit here and say that he's also replaceable. Not necessarily right now to us, but there's a lot of other players that can do what he does, but he's integral to what we do because, as you say, Dan, it isn't just the obvious of his goals, but his work rate, his ability to press. He's an aggressive player, he's young, he's hungry, and you need that, and that's why he's so important to us. But yeah, I think Koumas, as you say, Dad, he'll be wanting to break into the team, as everybody should, and that's got to be the goal, hasn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think so. And, all the new players will want to make their mark. I mean, you're talking about the Duck and Fujimoto haven't even played yet. When they play, hopefully tomorrow night, we see at least an appearance of some sort from them. They're going to want to impress. Okay, it's Port Vale, but, they're League One. They've had a very good season last season. Darren Moore's done a good job. He got them promoted.
Yeah.
And I think did they get defeated recently by conceding a couple of goals in the last few minutes, something like that? Or
I think so. I think I do remember seeing that.
Was it Stevenage who got the 2 goals?
It might have been actually. Now that you say
they did get beat by Stevenage 2-1. I think it was.
2 goals in the last few minutes, I think. But it shouldn't take anything away. A team, we know this, right? We know that if you're a promoted team and you've had a damn good season the previous season, your confidence is up.
Momentum,
yeah, exactly, that's the word. And I think they're going to have that, irrespective of how they've started in their own division. they're playing a team in the division above, and they'll be up for it. They're local. I think they'll bring good support.
I think they will.
Dan, do you foresee a shithouse 1-0 Port Vale win at St Andrews?
Oh, you never know, do you, with the Cup games?
Yeah,
whether it's League Cup or
in the
FA
next
Cup.
round.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
we're fucked.
Lovely for that. Thanks very much. Yeah, would have been home draw to Villa as well. And what do we get? Port Vale go through, and they get Villa.
Yeah.
Mind you, infinitely
Aren't we
third
optimistic?
round draws could do. Third round draws are infinitely more valuable to clubs in League One and more specifically to clubs in League Two than they are to us because of how much money they bring in, because of the potential of facing a Premier League side. Now, of course, we'll have the need to go through as well. Chris Davis will treat it like any other game, as he does, and as he's alluded to before in interviews, he just moves one game at a time, focus on the next game and the next game and the next game. So I think you're right, Dad, we'll see a good support following from Port Vale. As you say, Dad, they are a club on the front as well, with a lot of positivity going on around the club, so I think it'll be a good match-up anyway, and it'll be good to see what the turnout is, not only from the home support but of course from the away support, as we mentioned.
We're bringing like 18,000 for Blues.
I think they are, yeah.
Around that,
I think it'll be round about that.
Game.
So I think tickets as of today, as of recording this on the Monday evening, are still actually for sale as well.
Are, yeah.
So we'll see a good turnout anyway, and all three of us will be there, as we've mentioned as well. So that will be a good match to foresee as well. So and it'll be good to see the turnout in relation to the team as well. See who we see. Hopefully we've talked about, like we say, we see the likes of Koumas, Duck, Fujimoto as well. So, but it'll be good to see how the squad will be rotated. I think probably this is going to be a James Beadle fixture. I'm surprised if I saw Brad Mayo, but it's probably going to be a James Beadle fixture.
Definitely, yeah.
He probably wants to seem a bit of redemption from the goal we conceded to Sheffield United. I don't blame him for that, but it's one of them. It's probably going to knock his confidence maybe, so, and he wants a good start, doesn't he? So
yeah, he needs that. He'll be looking for game time, won't he? And I do think that the rotation is required because it's 3 games in 6 days total, I think. And I do foresee that the stronger side will be put out, obviously, for the Friday game against Leicester away. It's got to be.
Definitely, at the King Power Stadium. So we're seeing an 8 p.m. kick-off against Leicester City, of course.
Love a
One of the
Friday
drop-down
at
parachute teams. I know, it's brilliant. So, of course, that'll be live on Sky Sports. But I imagine we'll be taking a decent following as well. It's not too far of a journey away to travel to Leicester City, of course. So Leicester will offer a challenge. One of those teams, again, like we talked about with the likes of Ipswich and Southampton, and even when we talked about going into the Blackburn game a couple of weeks ago on Saturday, I don't really know what to expect from Leicester, really, because they've had a bit of a iffy start, haven't they, in many ways.
They won the last game 1-0.
They did, but even then they didn't look too convincing. But we'll see what happens, because teams turn up, don't they, against other teams where they know they mean business, and the type of football we play, they're going to be at us from the get-go, I think, and they've got the home crowd behind them as well.
I was going to say, tough place to go. We don't really do any well there, do we?
No, we've never done well there, actually.
I say that they always do well at ours as well. But I wouldn't say they're a bogey team, but we don't normally get the result against them. But I think it's just, not to quote, the Wayne Rooney time of no fear football, but we should go there and not fear them. Because the results that we've got,
that with anybody in the division, in all honesty.
Actually, there is nobody to fear, but there's also going to be other teams that think that about us. But we got to go there and play the way we play. And as you say, Dan, the home crowd, they'll be right behind Leicester. But I would say I'd be impressed if we walk away with 3 points. But I'll probably take a point.
I think I would as well.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not saying they would. I think they're very much looking for a win to get back to backs, to get the show on the road. And they're in that transitionary period, aren't they? Where they're trying to recover from some important players. Indeed, he's gone, and people like that. They're trying to move on from the Premier League days, and Vardy's obviously gone as well. So they're trying to move into a new era, really. Yeah. And it's not going to be that simple. As Ipswich and Southampton, who lost at home to Stoke at the weekend, have found it's not going to be automatic kind of the gravy train that other people might be expecting it to be. But they'll work on that. They're well aware of that. They've got it to do, and there's still a week of the transfer window to go. Just on our record there, I actually went to a game with my own dad when I was a kid back in the 70s when we won at Leicester, and it was at their old ground, Filbert Street. We won 6-2 there. Kenny Burns, Kenny Burns got 4 goals in that game, and he won himself a sports car.
That's proper 70s,
proper old school player.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Burns, he sold it and distributed all the money amongst the squad.
I think I remember you telling me about that.
Fair play to him.
Yeah, it was. I was a little kid then. I was about 10 or something. But I remember
you didn't
the
get
game.
The car, did you?
Unfortunately not. No.
That's a shame.
Reg probably sold it to him. To be fair, but,
probably did.
Yeah. But we're not great there, and a point would be a good result, I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Hopefully it'll be an entertaining game.
Yeah, I don't really want it to be, too entertaining. I'd rather we just get an early goal. They just fuck
Boring
about
is
a
what
bit.
we do.
They start fighting between themselves. They know, late goal, 3 points. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks very much, lads. See you in the new year. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
But we know it'll be a challenge, like we say at the end of the day, and they're going to be at us from the get-go. And as we talked about before, there are going to be sides like that this season that are going to start like that, and Leicester are definitely going to be one of them. Probably the others, the likes of being, when we go to their grounds, probably going to be like Southampton, definitely Ipswich at Portman Road. Again, another stadium where we've rarely got good results, but you never know what can happen in the time. But obviously they've only recently, I think their only defeat this season in the 3 games that they've played was to Preston, but Preston are impressive. They're only a place behind us themselves as well, so they've had another good start to the season as well, so it's going to be competitive. Probably our most difficult game yet, because I'd expect more from them than probably what we've seen from Ipswich. Ipswich have dropped off a little bit. They're a little bit further down the division at the moment, but they might come good still. But definitely expected a big challenge at the King Power Stadium on Friday.
Yeah, I think so. And as you say, I think because it being away as well, I think if it's at Blues, you'd probably favour us a little bit more to maybe get the 3 points. But tough place to go, as you say, down like Portman Road. There's a lot of other tough places to go in this league. But equally ours is, it's a fortress at St Andrews. Obviously got to wait till the new year to be playing at home. But yeah, I think we probably agree that sitting here right now probably would take a point. But there's no reason why we can't go and get 3. But nonetheless, Friday night, 8 o'clock, it's always a good time and day for a kick-off, I think, particularly in the summer.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? Just sort of like the last bit of sunshine dying down on the day, the lights come on, everybody's up for it, and it's a game to be played. Absolutely, watch the weekend games, knowing hopefully for us we've got our result, or at least very much points as it were. So both teams will be looking to win, and Chris Davis, as always, will be playing to win. Might see a return of Keshi to the team, but like we discussed, nobody's place is safe and everybody's replaceable, so we might see William start again. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
The game, I think, might be more suited to Keshi, because I think it's the kind of game where spaces will open up. They're going to come at us. They are going to come at us. There's not going to be this low to medium block business. They're going to kind of expect to win the game, and they've got the players to do it. We know they have. So I think spaces will open up, and that's where the Chris Davis plan for this season about using pace, to kind of break quickly, which we didn't really have so much last season. I think that's going to be in evidence. So I could see Keshi being back for that, and maybe seeing young Koumas on the bench as well, just to offer that kind of that energy level to get renewed at some point around 60 minutes and keep at them. Because they can't keep leaving the back door open.
No.
Not when we've got players like that. So
I think
I'll
they
be
are susceptible a little bit, aren't they?
I'm not sure. They probably are.
Based on perhaps in previous seasons when we played them, it's a little bit frenetic. I don't know what they're going to be like now.
They haven't quite as much of an issue with that this season, but it's definitely still there.
Yeah. I think we need Ryan Allsop's darting balls, didn't we?
We do.
We do. Good distribution from Ryan as always, and we saw that again on Saturday. So, as I say, we'll probably get to see James Beadle on the Tuesday, back in with Ryan on the Friday against Leicester City. But just because you're touching there, Joe, on Fortress St Andrews, and I love a good statistic. So we've had 27 league games now without defeat at St Andrews, scoring 53 goals and only conceding 12. It's impressive.
And our only loss at home last season in any comp was Newcastle.
It was. And look how we showed up in that game.
Should have won.
How's it going, fellow Blues fans? Hope you're enjoying the channel so far and liking today's video. I wanted to take a minute of your time to talk about our sponsor, Bangla Lounge Indian Cuisine. For these 3 Blue boys, Bangla Lounge has been the go-to choice to enjoy the very finest in Indian cuisine for over a decade now. Made with the freshest ingredients using authentic recipes, Bangla Lounge produces some of the best Indian cuisine that I've ever tasted. And if you enjoy takeaway at the end of the week, orders for collection and delivery with 15% discount, ordering direct through the website. If you enjoy a sit-down meal, you can enjoy this for a 2-for-1 offer, running up for Sunday to Thursday every week on main courses. Or if you're celebrating a special occasion, such as a birthday, Bangla Lounge offers a buffet restaurant every Sunday, running from 5:30pm to 10pm. So if you like a tasty curry or a sizzling tandoori, get yourself down to Bangla Lounge Hell's Owen. Links in the description below of our video. And if you would like to fine dine after a win in the B9. Thanks very much. Now back to the podcast.
And they've even made the catering better as well now. Did you be like that on Saturday, where they've actually started to have proper fucking queues now in the Cop car park?
Yeah.
So somebody was saying about the free-for-all that it was before the Ipswich game. It was proper intense. But we turned up, didn't we, on Saturday, and those queues where they got the roped up bits, and I thought, blimey, this is great. Like,
it was great, wasn't it?
And I'd heard from other parts of the ground where the facilities were that they'd done something similar. So you had a chat with Nick Smith, didn't you?
I did, by chance. I think it was the Monday when I went over to the ground to go and get my son's shirt printed. for his birthday at the beginning of September, so getting his name and birth year on the back for him as well, so we're getting that sorted. And I was coming out the ground, and part of where we now see the canopy for the COP fan park at the front of the ground, they were constructing all the struts, that the rings at the top that the canopy was going to be threaded through, so it was going to be secured on there. So I could see that going on, and I came out and I saw him study by, and I instantly recognised him. Apologies to Nick, I didn't remember your name at the time, and I do apologise, despite shaking your hand, so my apologies for that, Nick. That I recognised him as the head of infrastructure for, of course, Birmingham City FC, and we're having a chat about like what was going on and saying, oh, is it going to be done for Saturday? Yep, done for Saturday, so we're going to be expanding this. We're going to make sure that every single part of the ground, no matter which stand you're in, you've got something to go to as fans, because we want to create an atmosphere, and this is part of the positive drive we're giving forward, obviously, with the Knighthead ownership as well. And it's great to see that transcending into the wider management as well at the club as well, and that's been applied. And of course, he oversees the transformation at the training ground, obviously with the women's team now training at Wast Hills as well, and of course the performance centre as well, now with the first team as well. It's great to see. And he was letting me know about the transformation in the hospitality as well. Sponsors Lounge have changed now to the 101, I believe it was. So it's good to see, and it was good to have a chat with him, really. Just really receptive as well, so it was nice to have a chat with Nick Smith.
Yeah, it was. I just thought I'd bring that up because I guess, as a bit of feedback to him, from fans ourselves, is we did enjoy some of the changes that they've been implementing. It was just nice. Okay, you're not getting straight to the bar, but you don't expect it. You're turning up to 28,000 crowd. There's going to be a bit of waiting around, but it's gone from 25 minutes down to 10.
Yeah,
and to do that in the space of one league home game I thought was impressive. And if that carries on, if it carries on to be like that the rest of the season, then well done to Nick and his team, because that's impressive in a short space of time.
This is what they bring in, though, the management, and it's only going to get better from here on out. And obviously when we do move into our new home at the Sports Quarter, at the wheel site. But yeah, the canopy was good, wasn't it? And it was spacious. I think when I saw pictures of it, it looked a little bit cramped. But when we were walking down the steps to the canopy part and obviously the COP amphitheatre, it looked good, didn't it? And it was, the food options are plentiful. Obviously they added more portaloos, which I read online. And obviously there's plenty of options. And as you say, Dad, you got to expect some queue to some degree. But that was vastly reduced, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, absolutely. So we were pretty quick getting a pint, weren't we? I think it was literally 10 minutes, and we were less than that for getting food, weren't we? The great curryverse bowl, wasn't it? It was brilliant with the chips curry and the chopped up first as well. Yeah, they were fantastic. Well done, guys. Keep it coming.
Other outlets are available, by the way.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We're not just exclusive, by the way. Yeah. So we're not advocating just solely for curryverse, by the way. Yeah. Just before anybody jumps down our throat about that. But
we got to try another one on Tuesday now. So
absolutely.
Come back and they're really good as well.
Oh, we're going to be there as well. Because we mentioned the curry for the week before, didn't we? I think that was the friendly against who was it now?
Forest, I think.
Was it Nottingham Forest? No, it was the one before, wasn't it? Because I didn't go to Nottingham Forest. It was Solihull Moors, wasn't it? We talked about, weren't we? It was the curry and rice and the naan bread.
That was great. That place, man. They were great.
I know, but I think they rotate them around the ground. I think this is what they do. But then that goes back to what Nick Smith was saying, is there's something for everybody now. And I think they're keeping it flavourful, aren't they? Not only in terms of obviously changing the food layouts around as well, but in terms of what's available to everybody sitting in every stand in the ground. Just touching on what we were saying in the sports quarter, Nick Smith said that planning permission is going to be fully submitted next year. It will be approved by 2027, and by 2028 we'll start excavating the foundations to put them in for the new sports quarter. Completion aimed for 2031, so it's going to come round quick. It's going to be so exciting to see, particularly when you see those foundations first start going up as well for the new sports quarter. It's going to be so exciting to see. What a time to, and we've said it before, what a time to be a Blues fan.
It is, and it's just a shame that that the likes of my own dad, who passed away last year. Unfortunately, he's not around to see all this, But for those of us here now, we can do all previous Blues fans, no longer with us justice by turning up, supporting the club in all their new adventures going forward. So yeah. We owe it to every single Blues fan, present and past, to do it all justice.
Absolutely, with us onwards and upwards, isn't it?
Indeed. Absolutely, and of course we will continue to do so for all those Blues fans here present or not. Tuesday's games tomorrow in the League Cup against Port Vale, and of course rolling on to the next away test away at the King Power Stadium at Leicester City at 8 o'clock on Friday. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time again, as
Pleasure.
Always.
Thank you.
And as always, remember to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so you never miss a new upload. Drop a comment in the comment section. Of course, we'll do the best to interact with you and love your comments. Interact with us on our social media platforms, links to which are on the screen for you now and in the description below. As always, we've been the Free Blue Boys podcast. Thanks very much for joining us again. And until then, stay true to the Royal Blue. Keep right on.
Keep right on.